I think the last time I was here, I said that my father used to say that everybody wants to be born again, but nobody wants to die. And what he meant by that was we all have a vision of who we would be, like as our absolute wonderful self. Who I would be without the story of my pain. Who would I be without the stored experience of my early childhood molestation, of the abuse that I went through. Who would I be if racism, sexism, homophobia, all the isms had not diminished me in some way? Like, who would I be? Like, who was I born to be? Sometimes I keep a picture of myself at a few months old in my bedroom, and at some point every day, I just look at that picture and go, I'm working for you. I'm working to get back to your state of consciousness, where we're fully aware of your innocence and of the amazement of everything you see, the mind-blowingness of everything you see. The security that you had was that some arms were going to pick you up when you cried out for help, that someone was going to feed you when they discovered you were hungry, or change you when you needed to be changed. I want to get back to that kind of innocence. Like, how can I get back there? And one of Jesus's teachings is that to get back there, you must be born again. Like, you can't do it as the self you believe yourself to be that has been shaped by your experience in this world. You can't do it, Carlos, as the guy whose identity is, I grew up poor, I grew up in a really racist town, people molested me in the church and at my school. That guy who you think you are and say you are based on your experience, that guy can't do it. Like, you have to be born again. He's talking to a rabbi, he's talking to a scholar, and the scholar's, he's like, what does it take to get that innocence back? You must be born again. And so the scholar says to him, like, how can I enter back into my mother's womb and begin again? How can I become that little picture in Reverend Carlos's bedroom again? How can the me that has gone through all that I've gone through, and that is still going through stuff, whose mind has been shaped by my experience, who has had so many dreams deferred, so many things that I wanted, how can I get back to that picture? And so Jesus tells Nicodemus, the scholar, the rabbi, like, it's not about going back into your mother's womb. That was your water birth. When you were in her womb, you were in a bag of water. That's birth by water. He says the only way to do it is to be born in spirit. And this is how we begin our worship services, with these songs that we sing. We don't sing, like, I'm free in my body, I'm free in my worldly experience, I'm free in my financial state. No, we say I'm free in the spirit. So Jesus is telling Nicodemus, that's the only place you can be free. You will never be free as a human being. And he encourages us to stop thinking like human beings. Stop thinking we are human beings, and to begin to wake up to the truth of us. And the truth of us is in one of our unity principles. Our essence, number 2, my essence. A spark of divinity is of God. Not my earthly experience, not my bodily experience, not my relationships here on planet Earth, but the essence of me, the spark of divinity that I am, is of God. And so Jesus is telling Nicodemus, the only way to become that picture in Reverend Carlos's bedroom, which will not even be around, by the way, for the next 2,000 plus years, but the only way to return to the innocence that you were born with, that delight where everything that showed up blew your mind. No one had told you that there was something that was icky and something that was awesome. Everything was awesome. Some of us can still remember times when we delighted at a puddle, an oily puddle beside the blacktop roadway in front of our house, and we saw the oil on top of it, and it gave off all these rainbow colors, and it's nothing but a puddle with some oil in it from the blacktop, but to us it's a magical world. And I would sit there and watch a puddle until Mama made me come home and get some food. Because it was as stunningly amazing to me as when Mom and Dad first took me to the ocean. The ocean was no better. It was just another awesome thing that showed up for me to view and to acknowledge how awesome it was. And so the born again idea, when he told Nicodemus, you must be born again. Now, born again is not getting washed up and polished. Born again is not becoming an incrementally better human being. Born again is not, I'll do 365 days of my workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, and I will progress some. No, born again is a complete overhaul. It's a complete new you. And so my dad always said, yes, everybody wants to get back to the innocence that they were, the innocence that they were born with, the magical sheer delight of everything, everything. Oh my God, the feeling of a soft blanket on your skin, that blew my mind. And the chill of the cold in the winter blew my mind. How do we get back there? Well, you can't, believing you are who you are. Because your belief in who you are is a belief in being someone that the world has taken that away. I just have been hit too many times. I've taken too many blows. This is the best I can do for a person who was molested. This is the best I can do for a person who didn't have equal opportunities. This is the best I can do. And it's like, yeah, that's true, that you are doing the best you can based on who you think you are. But imagine if you lose your story of who you think you are, and that can only happen through rebirth. So when Daddy says everybody wants to be born again, but nobody wants to die, what he meant was that we cling to our story. We cling to this personality identification. We love the story of who we are and how we got to be as damaged as we have. We love that stuff. It is who we think we are. When I used to do a lot of in-depth counseling, I would get to a point with people where I would say, who would you be if you let your mom off the hook for what she did and for what she didn't do? Who would you be if you let your rage at your father go? Who would you be without your raging attitude against some people and some things? And some of them said, that's all I know myself to be. That's a frightening proposal. I have hated my father all my life. That's who I am. Who would I be without that hate? I would disappear into the nothingness. And that scares me. And that's why people who want to be born again refuse to die. Some of you know that I had an experience when my sister Crystal died. When she died, my identity was, okay, I'm this guy whose loved ones just keep dying. Bam, 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 bam. And I keep recovering. I just keep recovering. My dad died in 1988 in the spring. My only brother died in 1989 in the spring. My best friend through college. Danny, he died in the spring of 90. And then Johnny Earl died in the spring of 91. And then I get a little reprieve for a few years, and then my mom dies. And then I get a reprieve for a few years, and then my sister dies. Oh my God. And I just keep trucking. What a good soldier. I just keep preaching. What a good soldier. I just keep writing love songs to God. What a good soldier. I keep smiling. I keep serving. And it's getting rough. And I'm weary. Why Crystal? That's who I was. And I wanted to get over it. And 6 months after her death, I'm sitting in my room. I have just finished a Sam Adams and a cigarette. I'm not feeling in any kind of spiritual, religious mood at all. That cigarette was good, and this beer is even better. All I want is to be left alone, to be who I am, the good soldier who's going to march on and preach again and uplift everybody on Sunday, because she died on Friday, but on Sunday I'll be preaching. What a good soldier. But right now, all I want is to finish this beer. And a presence came into my bedroom, uninvited. And I heard a voice, unasked to hear. And the voice said, I have an assignment for you tonight. I want you to begin an assignment that needs to be completed by the end of December. This visitation is happening to me in the middle of December. It's December 20th to be exact, and I'm told to complete it on the 31st of December. I go, what is it? I would like you to die. What? In order to be born again, Carlos, I'm asking that you die. I felt like Zacharias, like how, Nicodemus, I'm sorry, how do I die? You must die to your earthly identity in order to be reborn as the spiritual self that is awaiting you. And I said, what's the assignment? I want you to do two things. Over the next couple of weeks, the first thing I want you to do, Carlos, is I want you to write your obituary. I want you to detail it. I want you to write it in exactly the way you want people to read it in the 3 newspapers that are in your area. Begin that assignment now. So I began the process of writing my obituary. That began Reverend Carlos W. Anderson, born October 16th, 1951, at 2:20 in the afternoon in Springfield, Illinois. Lived to be, and I put my age at the time. And then I began to put into my obituary all of the things that were important for me to have spoken when my body was not here and people had me only as a memory. That was a very, very intense assignment, and I cried many times, and many times I was overtaken by the Holy Spirit, and at other times I was overtaken by sheer terror. But I kept writing, and I got it exactly the way I wanted it. Then came the next assignment. I want you to write a letter to the Carlos who was born October 16th, 1951, and lived until the end of this year and died on December 31st. I want you to write a letter to him. One thing I've noticed about you, Carlos, one of the things you're most proud of is that you're a good soldier, that you keep on marching, that you keep on getting up. No matter what happens to you, I've noticed that you try to make even your most intensely painful experiences, you tend to do your best to turn them into gold. When you get slapped down, you tend to do your best to turn it into a blessing. Your word for yourself is a good soldier. I want you to write a letter to the good soldier that you are. the one who was born in October 1951, and the one who is taking his last breaths now and will die December 31st of this year. And I began to write a letter to Carlos, the good soldier. And I cried and I cried and I cried because it increased my love for this guy. It increased my appreciation of this guy. And it also allowed me to get that from the perspective of the writer, I was not this guy. I was writing a letter to a personality who lived an experience, and that was the story called The Story of My Life. And I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote, and I completed my letter to this good soldier at about 11 o'clock that night. And I said, what now? And I was told, at 7 minutes until midnight, I want you to put your boots on and your coat on, and I want you to go outside. I want you to dig a hole in the snow where your fire pit is. I want you to dig a hole, and I want you to take your obituary, and I want you to take your letter to the good soldier, and I want you to take it outside. I want you to put it in a hole in the snow, and I want you to light it and set it afire and send those smoke flames as an offering up to the Almighty One. And I grabbed them, I put on my boots, and the Spirit saw me going toward my copier in my room. I want a copy of this obituary. I want a copy of this 10-page letter. And I was told, no, you're letting him go. And so I went outside. I set fire to my obituary and my 10-page letter of appreciation to Carlos Wayne Anderson for being such a good soldier. And I went out and I burned it, and when it was completely turned to ashes, I praised God. I went in the house and I got into the bed. I thought I would still wake up being him, but a better version of him. Kind of like taking your car to the body shop, and it's still the car, but now there's no dents or scratches. It's got a new paint job. Maybe they even put a new engine in there. It's like a new car, but it's the same car, improved. That's what I thought I was going to get. But church, when I woke up that morning, my first indication that I was not him anymore was that he was always racked in physical pain. His neck was always out, his back was always out. He spent thousands and thousands of dollars on massage therapists and chiropractors and rolfers, and that's what he did from the time he was 28. He had to have an ongoing physical therapy process just not to be in physical pain. When he rolled out of bed, I knew I wasn't him no more. There was not a pinch of a nerve anywhere. Hey, brothers and sisters, I want you to know that was 7 years ago. That was 7 years ago. When I talk about him, I refer to him as him, which really ticks off a lot of people. No, it was you. No, it was him. No, he was racked with pain. He was racked with pain for 2 decades. No, you were. No, he was. That was him. This is me. I have not needed anybody for 7 years to ever get a cramp, a knot, a tweak, nothing. This body is not his. You see, he was a good soldier, and he had been through a lot, and he held it the best he could. But he always knew that the pain in his body and the stress that was in him was a byproduct of being such a good soldier. I'm not him. I died. All the years previous, I had wanted to be born again, but I had not gone through the necessary process for rebirth, which is death. You have to die in order to be reborn. Now, I don't know if I'm giving you an assignment to write your obituary or giving you assignment to write yourself a letter, but I'm just informing you of my own experience, and you can do with it what you want to do with it. In my experience, nothing permanently changed until I stopped being him. He died December 31st, 7 years ago. And I rose to take his place. And now there's no more accumulative karma, except for what I've accumulated in the last 7 years as the new being that I am. And knowing what I know, I am pretty doggone good at not accumulating more karma. So I don't have the karma from his childhood, from his molestation, from his broken marriage, from his getting backstabbed and talked about. No, I'm 7 years old. I turned 7 at the end of December of 2018. And so whatever your thing is, I encourage you to clarify for yourself, do I want to basically be me and have an improvement on it? Like, because some people, as I said, I've known several people that said, I don't want to give up my hatred for my parents. I don't want to stop hating my ex-husband or my ex-wife, because that's who I am. I think I would disappear. I think I would become nothing. Or is it possible that in becoming nothing, an opportunity is open to us to become everything? I cry, as I've told you, so much with the delight of this planet. Sometimes I wonder if they should take away my driver's license, because I'm so blown away by everything I see that maybe I shouldn't be behind the wheel. Because I'm stunned and somebody's honking at me, or somebody's giving me the finger or cussing me out, and I go, oh, I went over there into their lane. Because I wasn't looking at the road. I was looking at that tree. It's mind-blowing. Do you want to improve incrementally, step by step?
No.
Because you're a good soldier. I know you are. You keep putting one foot in front of another. You're a really good soldier. And good soldiers are great. That's who I was. It was what I was most proud of, being a good soldier that could keep marching through the valley of the shadow of death again and again and again and again and again. Or open yourself to the idea of, what would it be like to let the story of who I think I am go? And to begin a new story of who I am, newly born. And I'm going to end by saying this, which my sister Maya reminded me to say to others more often, and that I say at least 3 times every day. Thank you, God, for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. And this makes my heart sing. Namaste.